Why are you so offended that I'm opposed to killing innocents? And of course, the answer is because your whole worldview and the whole purpose of your life is to justify killing innocents.
I'm sorry. People aren't allowed to leave Gaza. If you're saying turn it into a parking lot, you're advocating murdering 1 million children. And then you think at the end of that, you still have the moral authority to say cancel Nick Fuentes or cancel Tucker Carlson? No, screw you.
Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson both just sat down together to expose the Israel First right in America for supporting atrocities, not only in Gaza and the genocide there, but also in the war on terror. And in this clip, they talk about how they simply have lost the argument. They're not going to cancel Tucker Carlson. And yeah, we're going to take on the ideas. We're not going to act like the liberal woke establishment in deplatforming people. So let's watch. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And people like Ben Shapiro and Josh Hammer and Ted Cruz, all these people, like, they think in terms of groups. And that's what Levin said to me. It's like, my group, people are hurting my group. And it's like, if your group means your family, people you love, I get it. But if you're thinking purely in terms of your ethnic group, which is what he is saying, then you inevitably become very hateful toward other ethnic groups, actually. Yeah. And in Ben's line about Ron Paul, who's like totally committed to nonviolence, by the way, you see that hatred. And so it does, I don't like it. I'll just get right to it. I'm not afraid personally. I'm not going to talk. I didn't grow up like in the world that, Seth Dillon grew up in, where you were encouraged to like talk about yourself all the time. Like, narcissism was a true sin. I never talk about it. I try not to talk about myself in general. But I know a lot about, people trying to hurt me, been there in a real way, and which I've never talked about, not going to talk about now, but I'll just say I know what that is. And I know that, people like Seth Dillon or Ben Shapiro, they get a lot out of wearing bulletproof vests and like, oh, I'm so under attack and all that stuff. And it's like, the truth is they are openly pro-violence. So how in the world could you justify killing tens of thousands of children or justify a pager attack, which is an act of terrorism where you indiscriminately blowing people's genitals off? You don't know who's holding the pager, and you're celebrating it. What are you celebrating? You're celebrating violence, and they celebrate violence day after day. That's where their foreign policy comes from. That's what their worldview is.
Man, he is just hitting this so hard right now, so well. This is exactly what the Zionist neocon ideology is based off. It's violence. It's empire building in the name of violence. That's the only strategy that's adopted here. And yeah, every attempt to cancel Tucker has failed. And what I love so much about this is that the worst people have tried to cancel Tucker, and it's just backfired every single time. Fox News, for him veering outside of the mainstream when talking about, issues that they don't exactly want him to present, even though he's by far the greatest, earnings generator, the greatest viewings generator in cable news at that time. It's not like you fire a guy like that typically. It's because he didn't toe the lines they wanted to ideologically. And now you have the neocons trying to do that the same time right now, the same strategy to cancel him now. Oh, he platformed a guy we don't like that's beyond the pale. Even after they platform Benjamin Netanyahu, a genocidal maniac who's responsible for killing 100,000 Palestinians, maybe more. Lots of people displaced. It's hard to know exact numbers there. And sucking America into a war versus Iran? Shelving our interest to do that? I say screw them. They're not going to win the argument. The argument's just over. We have a new media now. It's not the Fox News and MSNBC of old for you to control every single narrative anymore.
Strangling the neck of a Jew? Who even thinks that way? Someone who's thinking very often in violent terms, and so and hateful terms. That's hate. And so people like that, when aroused to hysteria, and I feel sorry for them, and I just want to say that again. Lindsey Graham, another violence worshiper, like the idea that they're promoting violence. Well, they've been promoting violence for decades. Because this whole project is about violence. It's about the thrill that they feel killing their enemies, the godlike power they imagine they have when they extinguish human life. That's the whole game for them. And we shouldn't you're not promoting violence? Oh, you're definitely promoting violence. And that's why I oppose you, because I'm opposed to that. We don't have a right to kill people. We do not have a right to kill the innocent, period. Because we're not God.
Yeah, and if you try to justify killing innocents, you just separate yourself from the moral plane upon which all of us stand, or all of us thinking reasonable people that aren't bloodthirsty demons stand, is when your whole ideology is based off justifying those murderous atrocities. Some of them still do it in the war on terror, in the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and Syria. All these neocons got every single of those issues wrong. The empire building strategy is wrong. We've had enough of George W. Bush's. We don't need it anymore, even when Trump does the same thing, flirting with regime change in Venezuela now. We've had enough. We're sick of it. We're not going back. You're not canceling Tucker. You just lost the argument, and we're going to ridicule you now.
And that's the dividing line between me and Ben Shapiro. And that's why when I said, Hiroshima, I'm for forcing Imperial Japan to stop doing what it's doing, make them apologize. I'm for beating them. I am. But I'm not for incinerating tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of their civilians, because the civilians didn't do anything wrong. And I don't think we're allowed to kill the innocent. So I say that on Rogan. And Ben Shapiro's like, Holocaust denier, or whatever, something, one of these meaningless phrases that mean Nazi, bad person. And it's like, why would that bother you? Why are you so offended that I'm opposed to killing innocents? And of course, the answer is because your whole worldview and the whole purpose of your life is to justify killing innocents. And clearly the joy in your life derives from killing innocents. And so that's who we're dealing with here.
Yeah, he's right. What can you say about that? There's no defense for that kind of attitude, and I know that they don't want to tackle those actual arguments, those foreign policy debates with people like Dave Smith and like Tucker Carlson. There's been a few exceptions like Coleman Hughes, but most of them will not debate these issues. Instead, they just resort to the same thing. Randy Fine telling Tucker Carlson, you're the most dangerous anti-Semite in America. Lindsey Graham saying, hey, we're killing all the right people, right? Yeah, well, guess who that includes? That group he's saying, all the right people in Gaza? It's 20,000 children. I'm sorry, those aren't just human shields that you can dismiss as being Hamas. We're not accepting that. What we're accepting is that you're a murderous freak for supporting that and being so close to the levers of power to twist Trump into that direction. Not saying that Trump isn't culpable too, he is, but you're doubling down along with Trump and the pro-Israel, Israel first regime.
Okay, like Lindsey Graham literally said the other night, he's like, we're killing the right people.
Yeah.
Man, imagine what it's going to be like standing at the end, at the judgment, because there is a judgment, period. And like you were celebrating killing the right people. Like, ugh, I wouldn't want to be that man. And I mean it. I'm not trying to be self-righteous. Like, I'll have to answer for a lot of shit, but I hope I'll never have to answer for taking glee in the killing of human beings. Like, we're not allowed. Check yourself.
Absolutely. And I swear, I did know he was going to say that, but that is so true. The default of the neocon Zionist mindset is that America always has to be killing. We always have to go to war with someone, and you don't side with the ones that we want you to side with. You've just chosen the side of, the CIA's latest boogeyman. They did this with Israel. You've chosen the side of Hamas, even though Americans just haven't chosen the side of Hamas. Every poll shows that it's just waning support for Israel. That support isn't going to Hamas. The same facade was used to condemn people that were against the war in Iraq, saying, oh, you were just pro-Saddam. Or if you didn't want to, go to war in Vietnam, you were just a commie then. This is the same bag of tricks these bloodthirsty neocon pro-war maniacs always use. We're not falling for it again. Americans' eyes are starting to open on this in a way I haven't seen, and I love that. There's a lot to be cynical about, but that's not one thing that you need to be cynical about. That's one thing you need to be hopeful about.
No, that's right. In some ways, there's a lot of overlap between, in my eyes at least, between kind of the fundamental Christian insight there and the fundamental libertarian insight, which I guess would come after that, after God, but it's almost like something you logically deduce after you have that morality. But there's the idea that, you could almost say it's illegal to commit acts of violence or incite acts of violence unless the government's doing it. in which case you can incite and advocate for all the violence you want to. But the fundamental libertarian insight would be that morally speaking, that's the same thing. Like, just because a government did it, it is no different than a private actor doing it. And that you can, if you believe in morality, then obviously we can't create another class and say, well, I call you senator, and so now if you kill people, it's collateral damage. We wouldn't accept that from a private person, and so we can't accept that from a public person. But this is, I mean, I'm not, look, as I'm saying in just Genocide Fest 2025 here, that they had the other day, I'm not, I mean, the whole thing was genocidal in tone. There was, what's that guy? Brandon Tatum, who I debated once on Piers Morgan, who, like, look, I don't hate him, but he might be the dumbest person who's ever talked about politics in the history of the world. Yeah. And he's up there and he's saying, turn Gaza into a parking lot. True, if I was prime minister, I'd have done it in 48 hours. Like, I'm sorry, people aren't allowed to leave Gaza. If you're saying turn it into a parking lot, you're advocating murdering 1 million children. Like, what? You just casually drop. Then Lindsey Graham is bragging that Trump ran out of bombs, all the people that we're killing. Then, like, more, like, all of them, it's like, and then you think at the end of that, you still have the moral authority to say, cancel Nick Fuentes or cancel Tucker Carlson? No, screw you. Like, well, who do you think you are?
Absolutely, after supporting such widespread murder, mass murder on a level only governments can accomplish, that no, Tucker's the bad guy for saying we shouldn't kill innocents. It's just telling of where the priorities behind these people and this evil mindset comes from, because it's not America First principles. It's not principles in the Bible. It's not principles that we acknowledge as a free society in terms of individuality. That idea, there's a spark of the creator in everyone and every life is sacred, that most people hold, even if they don't have the same, complete opinions on that as everyone else. That is a cornerstone of Western civilization in some regards. They're going to throw that to the wayside. And now, no, this guy is the enemy that's saying, no, we shouldn't murder people in mass quantities for a foreign regime. I'm sorry, no. That's an evil mindset. Who are you? Dave is right. I don't know if Brandon Tatum's the dumbest guy ever at all, but, he's not right about that, and Dave is correct on that issue.
If you think, I mean, Randy Fine made his money in the gambling industry. Okay. Why not porn?
Yeah, right.
The biggest donor to the party made money in the gambling industry. I mean, it's all just so gross, and it cannot withstand sunlight for one moment.
That's right.
And if the idea is that the future of the Republican Party is Randy Fine and Ted Cruz, this kind of quivering weirdo, I feel sorry for Ted, but, like, really, Ted Cruz? Like, let's, what kind of scrutiny could that withstand? Not much. And et cetera, et cetera. Lindsey Graham, the whole thing. And again, I don't want to be mean. I'm trying not to be mean. But if that's the future of the Republican Party, okay, good luck. But that's not. Then there'll be another party that will represent the majority of Americans who just want really simple things like sovereignty, a government that cares about them, that does something, however imperfectly, to improve their lives. Like, these are not ideological questions. These are just human questions.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that's true. I think that's a little idealistic. I don't think any political party in the modern age will represent those things. The whole modern political machine is based on the premise that we're going to have a monopoly on violence. We're going to empire build. We're going to fund the most wealthy corporations in the world with your tax money. We're going to expand the surveillance state, the deep state. We're going to have a giant regulatory apparatus. We're going to engage in all of these schemes. And by the way, shut down society, free speech, assembly rights, religious worship, etc. when there's this abstraction in the air. And then we're going to double down on shutting down businesses and allowing grandparents to die alone without being visited, and just say, oh, just trust the science. Just trust us. Trust the experts that mass murder people overseas. No, I'm sorry, we're not going to do that anymore. But I'm with Tucker that Americans are waking up to it. I don't think it's playing out in politics, but it is playing out in the culture. And the new media is driving it. It's the biggest beacon of hope for me outside of this propensity to leave the Israel first mentality that really inspires me. The fact that there are so many more places Americans can go for news and analysis and ideas that they never had access to before. Certainly your parents' generation didn't.
And if you have a party run by people who don't care about that at all, it's doomed to be a boutique party for real. So, like, I actually think long term, It's better to get this all out now. I do hope that they can slow down with the appeals to violence, neutralizing people, murdering people, well, me in this case. But and I'm not whining about it because I'm not Seth Dillon, like, oh, I'm under attack. Obviously, I'm under attack. I don't need to prove that. And I'm not afraid at all. And I mean that. You can tell I'm not afraid. But I hope we can tone that down because it's clearly a sign of like national decline when people start talking like that.
Yeah.
But I just do think ultimately, I don't know who's going to win, but it's not going to be it's not going to be Lindsey Graham. It's not going to be Randy Fine. That guy, imagine being his psychiatrist. By the way, we should hold their mothers to account. Like, who raised Randy Fine? You know what I mean? What were their mothers like? I mean, I'm not to be Freud about it, but like, really? But anyway, those people are not the future at all. That's why they're hysterical. So I'm just glad this is coming out now. Like, the more we can just open it up and like talk honestly about what we think and the clash of worldviews. There's a clash of worldviews.
Yeah, there certainly is. There certainly is in the Republican Party. This schism is playing out right now in front of our eyes. Who knows how long it will go on? It might be 10 years until there's any kind of political ramifications for this. I don't think we're going to get a 2028, presidential candidate in either party that isn't pro-Israel. But at the same time, support for Israel is going to wane, man. They're losing capital. They're getting desperate. Tucker's right about that. That's not the way that Americans and the Republican Party are going to be. It's not going to be filled with Lindsey Grahams and Randy Fines and Ted Cruzes. Even if it's not filled with perfect non-interventionists in my mind, like, hey, Ron Paul or Patrick Buchanan or Dennis Kucinich, it's going to be filled with people that question more this attachment to this tiny foreign regime, the size of New Jersey, that seems to have more influence in our own governmental system than we do. And it's not even that it seems to be. It is that's the case. With AIPAC bragging about having access, not even access, basically controlling the voting patterns of 361 representatives, that's significant. And it's not like the president does anything to buck that trend. No, he recognizes the Golan Heights, moves the embassy to Jerusalem. He, tears up the JCPOA, gets into a new war with Iran, doubles down on Netanyahu and tries to get charges of fraud and corruption dismissed against him. No, we're not going to take that anymore. And after Trump, there's going to be some changes. They're desperate and they're behaving as such. The Zionists are.
Period. And those people don't want to be in a coalition with people who care about America. That's fine. Yeah. It was never meant to be then. Then we should, it's a starter marriage. Let's get divorced. Right?
No, 100%. And I think that it is important in this moment almost to like you said, look, I just want to say real quick on the Josh Hammer thing, because it's just, I'm never one of the people who goes like, oh, like if you have some like harsh rhetoric, then I'm saying you're inciting violence or something. I'm very hyperbolic myself, and I call people I call people war criminals and blood-soaked monsters all the time. But I'm sorry, almost everyone, including Josh Hammer, all of the people who are, by the way, one of their big arguments is that Candace is out of way out of line to be asking all of these questions about what really happened with Charlie Kirk or speculating about what was going on. And that obviously what it was, we all know it was a leftist and nobody else can ask any questions like that. It was a leftist who did this. And their whole argument is that it was the rhetoric over these years of calling him a Nazi over and over again that led to this. They've just been making that argument.
That is so true. I'm so glad he mentioned this. They had made that argument not only in regard to Charlie Kirk, but also Trump. Many of them said, well, it's all this rhetoric from the liberal establishment in the country, people like Biden and Pelosi likening Trump to Hitler, saying he's an existential threat to democracy, and then you're just asking people to behave as if he's an existential threat to democracy as he is Hitler, and that's the reasoning they use to try to kill him. But no, they're using that same rhetoric of the liberal establishment now against Tucker Carlson. They use the same woke ideology of the other side of the uniparty. They're no different. This is just the ruling uniparty.
And then in a piece that Josh Hammer is writing about Charlie Kirk and what he would think of you sitting down with Nick Fuentes, his final line is that the fox is in the henhouse and it must be neutralized. Like, come on, I'm sorry. Every single one of those guys on that stage, if Nick Fuentes had come on your show and the last thing he said about Jews before the episode cuts off was, The fox is in the hen house and it must be neutralized. Are you telling me that all these guys wouldn't call that out for what it obviously is?
I would agree.
Absolutely great point by Dave. I can see the CNN headline being written right now. You know, alt-right white supremacist calls for the initiation of a new Holocaust. That's what would be the media headline if Nick Fuentes had said that. Let's just be real. They'd be calling it, you know, Jew hatred on a scale that we've never seen before. But Zionists can do this. Zionists can do this if they're talking about Tucker Carlson and making him symbolic of the fox in the hen house that needs to be neutralized. Well, who's Josh Hammer to do that? He's not someone that's going to rid the world of Tucker Carlson and his ideas and his influence. The second biggest podcast in the U.S. today after Rogan. That's what the metrics show. Glenn Greenwald just talked about that last night. The debate has been lost. The Zionists have lost. Thankfully, we can triumph in that. It hasn't panned out in politics yet, and it probably won't for some time. But if you're a dissident that opposes the Israel First doctrine and the U.S. attachment to Israel, take heart, man. Actually feel like you are invested now. My advice is not to just be so cynical all the time, and that's easy to do. I need to take this lesson to heart sometimes, but know that there probably is light at the end of this tunnel. Just as there was when it comes to like slavery and, you know, the subjugation of the American colonies under the, you know, American Revolution. They occupied Boston with a standing army, imposed harsh taxes, shut down U.S. commerce and selling tea. They tried to tax the U.S. with a Stamp Act that was criminal. They do even worse to us now, but those things didn't always stay in place, and they didn't stay in place because of an irate, tireless minority that was sick of it all. And I think we're seeing that play out now more and more, and who knows? You know, to some extent, it is a majority of people that have turned away from Israel. Not in our political class, but in our culture, certainly so. Could be 10 years, could be more, before AIPAC and the Israel lobby crumble under the realization that they're not just going to have that amount of power and influence over us and our foreign policy and, frankly, our domestic policy anymore. And seeing how this impacts hate speech codes and, you know, trying to conflate in those codes the Zionism and anti-Semitism and, you know, criminalizing speech that's taken into ill repute toward Israel. I'm sorry, we've had enough of that. We're not going back to that. The future is a different place than the past, and we should all be happy about that. And I'm glad that Tucker Carlson and Dave Smith are here with the right perspective on that, despite any disagreements you might have with them. I know there's a lot of left-wing dissidents that watch this program, and hey, let's just agree with them on that, if nothing else. But what do you think? Let me know down below. Are we going back? Are they going to be able to cancel Tucker Carlson? Are these vile neocon criminals guilty of war crimes? Should all the presidents that have initiated these types of wars, you know, be placed in The Hague or some kind of tribunal in which they have to face judgment for these crimes? Why do they get away with it? I think we know why, but it's not just or right. But let me know down below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, also subscribe to Dave Smith. Thanks, Dave. Awesome interview. If you like this video, please consider becoming a YouTube member of mine. You can do that by clicking the join button below. And if you do that, I will give you the gift of all of my videos before they go live to the general public. You'll be able to see the members-only videos right away. Also, if you want a free copy of my first book, Compact of the Republic, the League of States, and the Constitution, click the link below, plug in your email. I'll send that directly to you free of charge. And until I see you guys next time, no more war, no more debt, no more inflation, and no more empire. Peace out, guys. Catch you in the next one.